The hunt for El Chapo. Who has more aura? El Chapo or Pablo Escobar? Pablo Escobar. And it's not a diss to any cartels, I just want to say real quick. Any cartels that may be watching me, I don't know. Maybe your nephews are watching me, your kids. I'm a civilian. And yeah, I'm not involved in any thug activities. I'm an absolute civilian. Wholeheartedly and civilly. Rip Tommy? What you mean Rip Tommy? I didn't even say nothing. I was just saying that as like a just in case. I didn't have to say it. If Tom I'd be rocking the Pablo Escobar phone. The f is the Pablo Escobar phone? It's a real phone? Escobar Inc. 2020? Got his own brand, I guess. Anyways, let's watch this video.
This is the most heavily guarded prison in Mexico. Tall mesh fences, huge watchtowers. The area is a no-fly zone.
I can't understand why people sit there and do like crazy crimes and shit and end up in these prisons, because dude, we see the videos of them. I'll see that video and immediately, bro, it'll turn me into a civilian. Like, even if I was gonna cross the street without walking across a motherfucking crosswalk, bro, I will wait until the crosswalk, the sign, even if it's like an hour or something, I will wait. Literally, El Salvador, it was there like that crazy prison. I understand why the crime went down there, because you see that prison and you don't want to end up there.
This prison is considered to be unescapable. Yet today, someone will escape. This someone happens to be the world's most powerful drug lord.
They got footage of it?
El Chapo. He won't use any violence, nor will he climb over the fence. All he will do is walk into his shower and disappear.
He had his own shower? Why is that better than a lot of prison cells I see here, dog? Because in prison over here, you don't have your own shower in the cell. Then again, he was probably on like a max where he couldn't talk to anybody.
This is the story of how El Chapo became one of the most successful drug dealers.
How long do y'all think until you would go insane being in a room like that? Dude, give me a day and I'd probably go insane. When I've had bed rotting days where I just like cool in my room and do nothing, I'm like, damn, bro, this is so f***ing terrible for me. Like, you're not supposed to do this. You're supposed to go outside.
Dealers in the history of mankind. How he was hunted by authorities for decades, and how he escaped them over and over again. And it's the story of how an interview with a Hollywood actor and a failing car engine finally brought
the cops. I don't know when they locked in. Wasn't it like told the cops, all the cops were getting bribed there? I've heard nowadays they're like stopping the cops from like getting bribed and stuff like that. But that was like one of the main reasons why he wasn't caught for so long.
Joaquin Archivado Guzman Loera was born on April 4th, 1957, in a poor family in a poor neighborhood, the village La Tuna in Mexico's Sierra Madre Mountains. Boys here don't grow up wishing to be astronauts, firefighters, or doctors. They want to become drug traffickers.
That's crazy.
It's a way to make money, and money is a way out.
Yeah, the worst thing about like these crimes too is this generational. A lot of the people now, like you'll see the gang members there that are 18, whatever, they literally grew up being raised to be like that. It's sad. Hey guys, Tom NFG here. You know, only half of you guys are subscribed and even less of you guys have noties on. I hate to be a burden, but you know, I really appreciate it if you hit that sub button and the little bell next to it. You know, it doesn't take long. I know you can get mixed up in the algorithm and everything. But yeah, also tune into the streams. You know, we have a lot of fun over there. I'm telling you, we have a lot of parties going on over there. Yeah, that's it. Bye. Damn.
People will call Guzman El Chapo because of his height. He doesn't grow taller than 1.67 meters. El Chapo drops out of
to be 5'6", like you gotta have some type of power, bro.
School early. He doesn't even finish elementary school. Instead, he spends his time working on the marijuana and poppy fields, a family tradition. From a young age, El Chapo is extremely ambitious. He makes friends with big names in the local drug scene, determined to rise through the ranks of Mexican organized crime. First, he becomes a so-called problem solver.
Right.
Whenever a truckload of drug shipment misses schedule, El Chapo eliminates the person responsible.
What?
His uncompromising attitude makes him trustworthy, and he grows close to the kingpin of the Guadalajara cartel. When the boss is arrested, El Chapo keeps the business running, ultimately setting up his own organization with other traffickers, the Sinaloa cartel. He organizes planes, trucks, and rail cars to deliver cocaine and heroin into the United States, and he even builds border-crossing tunnels, a skill that will come in handy many years later. In those early years, one incident really puts El Chapo on the map.
May 24, 1993.
This is Juan Jesus Posadas. He's the Archbishop of Guadalajara and a cardinal, one of the highest ranked.
It's crazy too, because out there, probably have the most craziest cars, like Rolls Royces, Lambos. The rest of the people, they're like in f***ing poverty.
In the church. Posadas is a popular man. He advocates for the poor and publicly condemns drug trade. Right now, he's on his way to the airport to meet an ambassador of the Vatican.
Cardinal as well.
At the same time, El
Bruh.
Chapo and his bodyguards pull
These
into the
niggas do
parking
not
lot.
care, yo.
They are here to catch a flight to the beach resort town of Puerto Vallarta, one of El Chapo's favorite places to party. We don't know exactly what happened in this parking lot next. One thing we know for sure, though, the Cardinal will not survive.
Damn.
This is the official version. These brothers run a drug trafficking operation out of Tijuana. They are at war with El Chapo and his cartel. They fight over drug running territory, and somehow they get wind that El Chapo is going to be at the airport that day. So one of the brothers and a group of gunmen rush there to ambush him. When they spot him and his bodyguards, they step out of their cars and open fire. El Chapo and his men run toward the terminal building, taking cover behind cars in the lot. It's raining bullets, but somehow they manage to escape without getting hit. The failed assassination leaves 7 people dead, among them the Cardinal.
Damn.
This is the version of events that authorities will publicly report. Posadas was caught in the crossfire. Wrong time, wrong place. But there are doubts about this story. His death doesn't appear like a coincidence. Forensic experts will later say it's likely that the gunman killed the Cardinal deliberately. He was shot 14 times from close range. Later, the
Accident. Okay. We know when the police were getting bribed. It was definitely that year.
officials suggest that the gunman had mistaken the cars. El Chapo regularly drives a white Mercury Grand Marquis, the same model Posadas sat in that day. The gunman thought it's El Chapo's car and opened fire. But the Cardinal wore his robe when he was shot. He was not dressed at all like a drug lord. If the gunman killed him at a close range, how could they have confused him with El Chapo? Years later, the successor of Posadas will make a serious accusation. He claims the
14
murder of
shots
the
of course is
Cardinal
an
was a
accident.
crime of the state.
Se trató de un crimen de Estado, perpetrado por la Policía Judicial Federal, es decir, por la
Damn.
Policía de la PGR.
He believes the police carried out the killing for the Mexican government. Posadas had accused government officials of having ties to these cartels. Up to this day, it remains a mystery. What really happened in 1993 at Guadalajara Airport?
Yeah, you'll never know too, because let's say that is true. All they had to do is just burn all the evidence, trash it all out. That's what happens a lot of times, bro. Like whenever these corrupt schemes happen, you know?
This is El Chapo's wife, his sons, and one of his closest partners. Just 2 months ago, El Chapo was captured and brought to Altiplano Maximum Security Prison. Now the group is working on a plan to get him out. They begin by acquiring an old property 1 kilometer away from the prison.
Okay.
Next, they buy an old warehouse nearby. Here they store weapons in an armored pickup truck. Then they hire workers for one very specific job, digging a sophisticated tunnel.
You know how much money he probably had to have that happen? Like the labor costs he had to have them dig in a tunnel to a prison.
Back in 1993,
I wonder why this doesn't happen more. Like, is there not like some rich billionaires or millionaires that got arrested and they're like, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and have somebody dig a tunnel to me and escape.
after the shootout at Guadalajara Airport, the Mexican government placed a bounty on El Chapo. It took just 2 weeks
He's like
until he was
50th on
found and
Forbes or
arrested.
something.
He denies being responsible for the death of the Cardinal. He insists that he was the supposed target of the shootout. Ultimately, the authorities believe him. They don't charge him for homicide, just for drug trafficking. He is sentenced to 20 years in a Mexican prison, but he continues to run the Sinaloa cartel from behind bars. Through his lawyers, he passes orders to his closest allies. He doesn't need to be in the room to pull strings.
Through his lawyers is insane. Did they not do any vetting? He's just like in the middle of talking to his lawyers. He's like, yeah, go ahead and do this, that. And like, all right. The prison's like, all right, y'all good?
His empire runs on whispered instructions and tightly coordinated moves. In 2001, El Chapo has enough of life in prison. Also, the Mexican Supreme Court just approved a law that makes it easier to extradite criminals like him to the US.
Okay.
Time to get out. The official version of his first prison escape is spectacular. He supposedly bribes a guard who helps him climb into a laundry cart. The guard then pushes the cart out of the cell, down the hallways, and through an unguarded gate to the parking lot. El Chapo jumps out and climbs into the trunk of a car. The guard gets in and drives to the outer prison gate.
That's crazy. This is literally some prison break shit.
After a quick search, the car is waved through. Nobody checks the trunk.
What?
But again, that's just the official story. Several authors and journalists don't buy it. One argues that the prison's checkpoints were equipped with heat and motion sensors, capable of detecting
For them holding one of the most influential drug traffickers, you tell me they were just like, every car, they're just like, nah, just go ahead. We trust you. Just go ahead.
any living creature, even a cat. That means the alarms would have gone off. Instead, the journalists suggest that El Chapo may have left the prison dressed in a police uniform escorted by other corrupt officers. One way or another, systemic corruption likely played a
Would
role,
they not be able to spot him? Not a single officer spotted him?
and El Chapo put his newly won freedom to use.
Chapo's public enemy.
In the following years, the Mexican cartel landscape changes dramatically. In 2002, the leader of the Tijuana cartel is killed in a shootout with police. One of the brothers who had supposedly tried to assassinate El Chapo at the airport. A year later, the leader of the Gulf cartel is arrested. Two major cartels are now without leadership. El Chapo sees an opportunity.
I thought in the cartels they have like things set up because they're always gonna have to think if they get goddamn taken out. I thought they have like a bunch of people set up so like if they do get taken out right after, they could have them come in, but I guess not. Shit is uncoordinated.
He pushes into Tijuana and Gulf territory, triggering brutal fighting. Nuevo Laredo, an area along the U.S.-Mexican border, practically turns into a war zone. Former forces of the Mexican army begin working for El Chapo. They clash with what's left of the Gulf cartel, whose core fighters were partly trained by the U.S. Early on, the violence results in more than 1,000 deaths, many of them civilians.
Rest in peace.
And that's only the beginning. In 2006, Felipe Calderón becomes Mexico's new president. Determined to crack down on organized crime, he declares war on the cartels.
How many of the motherfucking Mexican presidents have said they're gonna go at war with the cartels and nothing ever happens? I didn't even know in 2006 the president said that. That's what every new president says.
Deploys the military. The violence escalates dramatically.
Cartels are much stronger than the Mexican military. God damn, bro. Yo, why don't they just call them like fucking America or some shit? Just call them the American military.
Between 2007 and 2014, over 160,000 people died in the course of the war on drugs in Mexico. In these years of bloodshed, El Chapo rises. He becomes the world's most wanted criminal, transforming the Sinaloa cartel into one of the most powerful criminal organizations in history. It becomes the top supplier of drugs to the United States: cocaine, heroin, methamphetamine, and fentanyl. El Chapo's cartel operates in 50 countries and generates billions of dollars in profits each year.
Jeez. They got it in Africa, dead ass? Out of all places, I don't know why. I wouldn't expect Africa. Where? That's Mali, Mauritania? I don't even know some of these places. Senegal, I know Senegal. Sierra Leone, Liberia, Algeria. How'd they get in Australia too?
In turn, El Chapo becomes extremely wealthy, eventually making Forbes' list of the world's billionaires. No wonder it's hard to keep him locked up. El Chapo's rescue commando needs to know the exact location of his prison cell, so they smuggle a GPS watch into his prison cell, disguised as a food item. Now the workers know in what direction they need to dig. Over the span of a year, they dig a sophisticated tunnel.
You telling me this was the Supermax prison there? There is no fucking way, bro. He put the shit in food and they passed it. They literally pulled one of these. Everybody in that shit was getting bribed, including the person that ran the prison.
A carefully planned complex construction, costing approximately $5 million to make. The tunnel is 1.5 kilometers long and 1.70 meters high. It is reinforced by a wooden frame. There are lights and even a ventilation system. Digging a tunnel...
Ventilation system? Yo, this just goes to show, bro. Mexicans are some of the most efficient niggas ever, bro. There was no reason to add a ventilation system in there.
Creates a lot of dirt. So the workers build a rail system with a motorcycle adapted to it to move the dirt out of the tunnel. The construction is also supposed to function as an escape vehicle later on. But how did
for what though?
El Chapo end up in El Altiplano in the first place?
Agent Hogan. So they can breathe. Wait, am I tripping? You can't be underground at all? Like, they were digging the tunnel. There was space between the area in general. They were underground. And it was leading to a hole outside that was already bringing in oxygen and everything and shit. Carbon dioxide buildup. Am I tripping, or people have done this before with that? I don't know.
Andrew Hogan is an agent with the Drug Enforcement Agency. He wants to take down the most powerful drug lord on Earth, perhaps in history.
By the way, any of these agents that like publicly declare they're going against the cartels or anything, man, shit, they better than me. I could never work a job like this because you know damn well, bro, your life is immediately at risk. Like at any moment, they know everybody. Like they have people that track this shit. At any moment, they could try to get you, bro. Shout out to them though, bro, because I couldn't do that.
Currently,
They gonna clip your ass, bro. I couldn't do that job.
he's looking for allies, but he soon discovers somehow there is no task force, no team, not even a single federal agent assigned to the job of bringing El Chapo to justice. So he takes a Spanish...
Yeah, no agent assigned, probably because they're all scared. Plain and simple, they're all scared. They know as soon as they publicly come out and say that, they got the whole like cartel against them, every single one.
and prepares to move to
Because
Mexico.
like the thing, even if the cartels are beefing, I feel like the thing that'll bring them together is like agents trying to take them out or whatever. Or like, I don't know, America trying to step in and do something. Like, then they'll be like, all right, like, y'all gotta go. And then they'll go back to their beef.
Meanwhile, one of Andrew's colleagues in the US manages to get the pin to El Chapo's BlackBerry, thanks to someone in his inner circle. He tracks down his phone to the holiday resort Cabo San Lucas. The colleague immediately calls Andrew. They're excited, and so they pass the information to the officials in Mexico. The DEA and Mexican police quickly head down to the place where El Chapo is supposedly hiding, but he's nowhere to be found. Next, they narrow
definitely
down
found
El
out.
Chapo's phone signal to one of 3 mansions near the resort Cabo
They get
San
taken out
Lucas.
accidentally.
This time, it's a hit. He's there. But before the forces arrive, El Chapo just escapes through the back door. Somehow he makes it to an airstrip without being caught, and is flown to safety. El Chapo always seems to be one step ahead. He constantly changes his SIM cards and phones, and simply outsmarts the authorities. One DEA agent
I wouldn't be surprised if he has like 50 burner phones at every moment just set up if he has to switch another one. I would think he would have more of like 20 different types of phones, and he just switches them around. He gives different people this number, that number, depending on what he wants.
supposedly said the Mexicans couldn't catch El
just some
Chapo
cartoon
if he was
shit.
standing at the fucking Starbucks across the street from the embassy. But Andrew Hogan doesn't give up. In May 2012, he moves to Mexico City with his family and takes over the Sinaloa case. In the months that follow,
And he moved his family out there. See, right there, he's tripping. He should have at least done it alone, because now if they find you, dude, they find your family. Your whole family is roped into it, bro. If you're one of these agents, I feel like you just got to do it by yourself. Just have no family around, have them cut off, make sure they can't find your family, because that's how they rob you.
his team began intercepting members of El Chapo's inner circle. Bit by bit, they uncovered the cartel's complex communication system, how often numbers are changed, possible code names, and GPS locations. Slowly, a picture begins to emerge. One day, El Chapo seemingly wants to meet an underling in person, and he sends one of his chauffeurs to pick him up. Hogan tracks his phone. The chauffeur finally arrives at a place in Culiacan. The signal leads to a group of 5 houses. Hogan organizes a capture operation with dozens of Mexican Marines, helicopters, and trucks, and he joins the mission himself. They surround the property and storm inside. But once again, El Chapo is gone. Instead, they find a strangely placed bathtub covering the entrance to a tunnel that leads into the sewers of Culiacan. But this time, the Marines manage to stay
He's literally doing this like a spy movie.
on El Chapo's tail. 3 days later, they find out that one of his men had driven him to the coastal town of Mazatlan, to a hotel. The Marines enter the 4th floor of the hotel. They storm into room 401,
And
heading
he's not
straight for the
found.
bedroom. El Chapo is with his family.
Oh,
He barricades himself in the bathroom with an assault rifle.
okay,
His
bro.
wife pleads with the soldiers not to harm their daughters. Shortly after El Chapo surrenders, they got him. Andrew Hogan's job is done now. He caught the most wanted man on the planet, and he worries for the safety of his family, who moved to Mexico with him. So they board a plane back to the US.
Okay, that's good.
Meanwhile, El Chapo goes to
Yeah, because if he stayed there, probably would have been over.
Altiplano. The US is pushing hard for his extradition. This would likely be his doom, the end of his reign. Time for another tunnel.
Wait, he escaped again? I thought he escaped once. Oh my god.
The rescue team and the workers managed to locate the exact spot of El Chapo's cell shower. They build a 10-meter vertical passageway that connects the tunnels to the cell, including a ladder. All this digging and drilling creates a lot of noise. Several inmates are complaining, but the guards ignore them. El
Yep.
Chapo's rescue team manages to complete the
Paid
5 million
actors.
tunnel directly into his prison cell,
Why is this guy so good at this? I think it's more of just they weren't good at keeping their prison secured.
without anyone interfering. All that's left is breaking through the cell floor, and thus comes the day. El Chapo sits on his bed. A surveillance camera monitors him closely. The camera also records audio. You can hear television, the volume is turned up. But you also hear loud banging noises. Probably someone is breaking through the cell floor. Next, El Chapo begins to pace up and down in his cell. After some time, he walks to his shower stall, bends over, and goes back to his bed. He removes his shoes, sits for a second. Then he walks behind the shower wall. And simply
Imagine a guard just walked right there.
disappears. He squeezes through the hole in the ground. It's just 50 by 50 centimeters wide. 1 meter below, he finds footing on a ladder. He climbs down 10 meters into the ground until he reaches the tunnel. Someone is already waiting for him, likely his wife's brother. The rescuer sits on the motorcycle on rails. El Chapo climbs on behind him. Together they make the 1.5-kilometer ride to the other end of the tunnel. When they arrive, El Chapo and his companion climb up a small ladder through the exit shaft. They end up in an unfinished house, covered with construction material. An ATV is parked outside. They drive a short distance to a warehouse and switch to an SUV. Then they drive for 2 hours, until they arrive at an airstrip. A plane is already waiting. They board it and fly to Sinaloa.
This is just insane. This is straight up a GTA mission.
2 months later, one of El Chapo's
Jail cannot be this bad. It is definitely that bad. I mean, especially for him, it is definitely that bad. He was in one of the max security prisons. Nah, that is insane, though. I know they were pissed, bro, when they saw him flexing.
Let's back up for a second. Something's about this spectacular.
Just put him on death row already. I don't even think that'll do anything. Even if they do that, which I wouldn't care, bro, because, you know, bro was like killed probably hundreds of, maybe thousands of people. It doesn't even do anything because cartels always find more people to like just replace them and shit.
Escape just don't add up. There's video footage of guards watching their screens as El Chapo disappears, yet it takes them 20 minutes to check his cell. They even wait a few more minutes before they finally enter and check the escape.
Nah, bro hitting the fake ass reaction.
They even wait a few more minutes before they.
He's hitting the. Oh dear heavens! He's hitting the. What do we have here? You knew, man. At least have a more realistic reaction.
Finally enter and check the escape hole. Also, it seems unlikely that building such a tunnel truly went unnoticed. After all inmates actively complained about the drilling noise. A large majority of Mexicans believe the escape was an inside job. Shortly after El Chapo's second prison escape, the prison's
This is probably the equivalent in Mexico of like us over here, what the Epstein didn't kill himself.
And 2 other officials were fired. Next, 4 Mexican officials were charged. 2 were members of Mexico's Secret Service, based at the prison. The other 2 were guards who sat in the control room, monitoring El Chapo's cell. The accusation is that they bought El Chapo valuable time by not raising the alarm once the drug lord was gone. And El Chapo, he again becomes one of the most wanted criminals on Earth.
His award was how much? 5 mil USD? That is enough to retire anybody
on Earth. The pressure to finally bring him to justice is
One
higher
Piece
than
bounties?
ever. The hunt is on.
Nah, I'm not gonna lie. If he did what Pablo Escobar did and took a picture in front of the White House, I'd say he has aura. That picture of him in front of the White House is like so fucking iconic.
Then El Chapo makes a crazy move. He knows he's considered a legend in Mexico, and he wants even more fame. A movie about his life on the big screen. Sean Penn is already involved in a production about him, along with Mexican actress Kate del Castillo. Castillo manages to contact El Chapo and his associates. Finally, El Chapo agrees to meet her and Sean Penn in person. To talk.
I'm just confused. I didn't know they like him over there. I thought they would not like him because like he's like killed civilians and shit, or his cartel or whatever he runs.
Talk about the movie. Well, technically, he's on the run. This is a photo of the meetup. Sean Penn.
Hello? Is this fucking illegal? Yo, this nigga's stupid, bruh. Did he get arrested because he had to have?
And interviews.
How did he even get in contact with him?
Chapo about his career as a drug lord. A story later published by the Rolling Stone. In it, Penn reveals that El Chapo's escape tunnel engineers have been flown to Germany for 3 months of extensive additional training necessary to deal with the low-lying water table beneath the prison. It's a gripping read. Beneath his smile, there's a doubtlessness to his facial expression. A question comes to mind as I observe his face, both as he speaks as while he listens. What is it that removes all doubt from a man's eyes? Is it power, admirable clarity, or soullessness? But according to government sources, the interview is also a crucial factor for investigators to get closer to El Chapo. Apparently, all the while, they're monitoring Penn and Castillo's movements very closely.
Okay.
It's October 9th, 2015. Mexican special forces are closing in on him in the mountains of Sinaloa. After a while, they actually spot him. He's only got 1 bodyguard with him. This is their moment. They take off after them, chasing them through the terrain. As they get nearer, El Chapo falls off a cliff. His bodyguard finds him and carries him to the depths of the forest. The special forces lose sight of them and they escape. A catastrophic failure. But the authorities don't give up the hunt. In January 2016, they get another chance. The Marines manage to locate El Chapo once again in the coastal city of Los Mochis. The clue comes from a taco order placed from a white van. Witnesses say the driver is one of El Chapo's men. The Marines begin to surveil the car. It ultimately leads them to a safe house. A few hours later, the soldiers storm the place. Cartel gunmen try to hold them off. A gunfight breaks out. The Marines eventually push up to the second floor, then the roof. But El Chapo is gone. True to his form, he and one of his gunmen fled through a hidden tunnel.
He sure loves him some fucking tunnels.
Right now, they are climbing out of a drainage tunnel a short distance away, right across from a Walmart.
Walmart?
El Chapo and his gunmen need to escape quickly. They steal a car, guns drawn, but after just driving a few blocks, the car breaks down. So they—
That was crazy. He probably could have just took his money and moved and retired in another country that doesn't have like extradition laws against him. There's certain countries you could definitely do that. I don't know where. But you could also bribe. There's countries more corrupt than Mexico. You probably have to go to like an African country. That's where you're gonna find the most corrupt niggas, bro. They do not be caring, bro. You give them money and they will just listen to you.
They ditch
promise
it
you.
and lose valuable time. Then they take over
North Korea would not take him. There's no way. Actually, maybe they would.
their car and manage to get on the highway, but it's too late.
China, I don't
Police
think China would
finally
take him.
arrest El Chapo, one of history's most powerful drug lords. He tells the officers, "You are all going to die." 40 of his
See, at that moment, hey boss, I quit. What the? Oh, nah. Yo, I am out. I am not working there anymore. I don't know how any of them stayed being police officers there after hearing that.
assassins are supposedly on their way to free him, but he gets handed over to the Marines, and it's over. After a decade of hide and seek, escaping over and over again, in all likelihood protected by systemic corruption, El Chapo has finally been caught. Later that day, the Mexican president tweets, "Mission accomplished. We have him."
That's aura.
Soon after, El Chapo was extradited to the United States, the one thing he truly feared. On July 17th, 2019, 3 years after his second escape, he was sentenced to life in Colorado's Supermax prison.
See, this is in the middle of nowhere, bro. How much you want to bet though? His like Goonies and shit are already like making a plan up to get him out. How long has he been locked up? Couple
That's
years.
where he remains locked up.
2019. So he's been locked up for 6 years. It might be making up a long-term plan or something. You never know. If the news drops that El Chapo escaped and he's in America, the amount of fear you would see on the streets would be so insane. Because the other escape, he said like his people trained in Germany for like 3 years before they got him. Imagine now they're training in another country to like figure out how to do it. I don't think they'll be able to bribe like the American police here or whatever, the security here, because American police or whatever, if they got caught, they would be in life in prison in the same facility, and I know they wouldn't want that.
This day, the Sinaloa cartel and other Mexican cartels—
We are all catching him? Who's we? Yo, I'm not getting targeted by the cartel. Hey, your name is in chat, gang. Your name is in chat. If one of them sees it, hey, listen. Cool, man. I'm a civilian. I'm just watching this video.
are as strong as ever, operating as undeterred global organizations. There's so much more to the story that we couldn't cover in this video. But apparently,
Didn't they capture his son too?
some video journalist obsessed with maps is about to pick it up very soon.
Oh, hi Fern. Love your stuff.
Cool. That was a good video, man. This channel's like high production quality. You could damn near post these videos on Netflix and shit. Oh, Chapo's son arrested. I think his son was arrested, right? 2019. God damn. Crazy story. Hey, y'all stay safe out there. And yeah, if you're watching the 2, make sure to join the Discord and watch the streams.
Subscribe to Tommy NFG.